Founded the YouTube channel The AI Advantage, almost 400,000 subscribers, over 26 million views.
I woke up one day and it was like, there was like a red banner. This channel is like suspended, and I got no explanation. It was just gone. Nobody talks about like the 20 opportunities before that didn't work out, but this one did, and here we are. Just never stopped working. It's the second most viewed ChatGPT tutorial in the world, and it just went on to get like 5 million views. When you Googled ChatGPT, my face, like the thumbnail popped up, which is like wild. It's just like a YouTube video, and it cuts to like the deepest layer of the human psyche.
Are you storyboarding? Are you writing a script? What exactly are you doing after that?
I want to believe that you can kind of teach it, and so, but at the end of the day, I think it's you either have it or you don't. If you want change, then seek the stuff that you would say no to. The stuff that feels most uncomfortable, that's where all the growth is hidden, because you need to understand people and you need to understand how to give them what they need and want. And that's hard. That's entrepreneurship.
Hi everyone, we're here with Igor today, who founded the YouTube channel The AI Advantage, which now has almost 400,000 subscribers and over 26 million views. Igor, this is an incredible feat, and before we dive into all of this, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and what the AI Advantage is and how you got started?
Absolutely. So right now, what we do is we digest the complexity and the madness that is generative AI into formats that people can easily consume. And so they can understand how to find their very own edge in this crazy, crazy world, and how to use AI technology to their benefit. That's what we do. We do this in various formats. We do it on the YouTube channel with a weekly news roundup and beginner tutorials. We do it for various partnerships with brands where we show off their products in a light that makes sense to people, to really show how it integrates into their life. And we do it through a private membership community and a weekly newsletter where it's really higher touch, and we get to spend more intimate time with the people to make sure they get to the results that make sense for them. So that's what we do now.
And on the side of the YouTube channel, what was it like filming the first video? What sparked that initial curiosity? Because this is your 5th channel. What were some of the takeaways you took from filming videos in the past to making the AI Advantage what it is today?
Yeah, for sure. So it's really a lifelong journey. I think that's the important, like, it's not that I just got curious about AI. I was just curious about everything before that already. As a kid, I was the type of kid who, like, when I got a new piece of tech, I was always a bit tech and computer obsessed. And when I got a new phone, I just went into the settings and explored every little menu item and what it did. I went into the camera and switched the megapixel count from 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 to 2, took test pictures, looked at the differences. And this was like 11-year-old me. So fast forwards to me being like 30, when I got my hands on ChatGPT, because by the way, I was already plugged into communities that were into this type of stuff, blockchain development and coding and all that. So I learned about ChatGPT on the day of release. And when I got it, like, I just tried stuff. Like, it was just super natural to me to just open it up and start experimenting, and to bring the same level of curiosity that I have around all new releases or like all new pieces of technology to this completely new category of technology for me. And I sort of just went intuitively into it and just started trying different things, trying different prompts. And turns out that through my kind of like unique background and growing up super internationally and moving a lot and speaking 3 languages and also knowing the basics of coding and also knowing the basics of like various other technology stacks, it was just very intuitive to me to kind of like formulate different prompts and try different use cases and really push it further than people would usually do intuitively. And then I just turned around, and because I was already trying to run 2 YouTube channels, you know, one would say rather unsuccessfully by like, you know, general metrics, but like, you know, I was having a blast and I was like doing it for the love of the game. So I just turned around and like turned those learnings into videos that I uploaded. They did a bit better than the other videos. So I was like, cool, I'll do more of that. And then all of a sudden the second upload completely took off and took over the channel. Like before that, I was getting like, I don't know, 20 views overnight. The first video got like 40 views overnight. And then the third video got like, I think a few hundred or something like that. And that was like massive. And now that second video is actually, I think it's the second most viewed ChatGPT tutorial in the world on YouTube. And it just went on to get like 5 million views. It's for a certain time, it was funny. Like when you Googled ChatGPT, my face, like the thumbnail popped up, which is like wild. It's just like a YouTube video. And I was just sharing. But the point is, the takeaway here is, I was just curious. And the timing was right, because I uploaded that video on the 5th of December, 2022. And then all the hype came around in spring of 2023. That's when the world kind of came around to like, holy moly, like this ChatGPT thing is big. By that point, I had a whole library, and it was like, I had a, you know, published ebook, and it was like, I had a course and everything already. So like, I was really positioned. But yeah, was just curious and, hard work ethic, I suppose. Yeah, just always looking for new opportunities. Nobody talks about like the 20 opportunities before that didn't work out, but this one did. Here we are, just never stopped working. And now we get to help a lot of people, and that's beautiful. And I love it.
What do you think it was about that one video that took off? Obviously, the timing and the subject matter is perfect, but are there any little bits of the video, the analytics itself, that you have used to extrapolate that success with your other videos?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think ultimately it's the conciseness, because AI is a bit intimidating to a lot of people, and there comes a lot of fear with it and a lot of baggage, right? So usually when you say like, oh, you should learn ChatGPT, people like, Kaya, what do you like when somebody says learn ChatGPT? What do you think? How long does that take? Just intuitively.
It's quite a daunting task. I remember like my grandma, I was talking to her and she's like, well, what is ChatGPT? And I was trying to teach it to her, but it's so complex. I'm like, where do I even start with it?
Exactly. It's like a chat box, and you can write anything into it, like literally like anything. You could ask it for the meaning of life, or like for a math calculation, or like what your next like song should be titled or whatever. So it's wild. And I think the secret of that video was that I managed to condense it into 2 minutes. I know the first draft of it was like around 10 minutes or something. And then I looked at it, I was like, this is not that complex. We can boil it down. And I think just through all my past experiences, kind of acquired the skill of distilling complicated concepts down into a language and into a format that is easily consumable. So yeah, I think by like re-editing that video and reworking it into 2 minutes, I think that's what really made it work. Because at the end of the day, that's what you need. You need an account, you need a first prompt, and then you maybe need a second prompt, and off you go. And that's what I managed to like kind of package into that video, and people seem to enjoy that. So yeah, that's at the core of it, kind of like distilling down complexity into something that meets you where you're at.
And now your channel has quite a few of those short form videos and also some longer form. How do you balance that between keeping people engaged and then the people that are already know a little bit about AI and that want to dive deeper into the more technical side of it?
Yeah, that is a real struggle, because at this point we generally speak to an audience, like with our core products, that is a bit more advanced, and that has like put in like, I don't know, 100 plus hours into exploring this technology. But and also like it's hard to hit that beginner audience now, because just there's so much more noise, and there's so many like more people doing AI education now. But we try to strike this balance of, we have a weekly show that rounds up all the news. I know that generally speaking, this is kind of like more for an intermediate audience, because it often builds upon previous releases, and we compare like what came out this week to what came out 4 weeks ago and stuff. You kind of need a little bit of the previous knowledge, or you need an open mind to kind of like exploring new territory, which not everyone has. And I realize that. So we do that on a weekly basis to kind of like keep the people on top of this that want to stay on top of it, use case based. So it's very practical. So you got to be working with something for that to really resonate. And then secondly, we just like sprinkle in beginner tutorials that are always like time stamped. So like usually the title or the thumbnail is something like automation in 7 minutes or something like that. And we just continue with this formula. And this is really designed for people who are getting started and to get their curiosity going. So that's on the YouTube side. And then on the community side, we kind of like built it for both people. We have an onboarding and courses to get people from absolutely no knowledge, like barely, like if you know how to use a browser, you're good to go. And we'll meet you where you're at right now and kind of like build your skills with courses and office hours and just like personalized support. But then for the more advanced people, we have separate sessions, and we have separate guides that are marked as intermediate or advanced. So there we really get to split it out a little more, because we're not at the mercy of the algorithm. On YouTube, it's a bit more tricky, because like every video you upload, like YouTube doesn't inherently know, is like, is this supposed to go to the new folks, or is this supposed to go to like the long-term subscribers? And they're very different. Somebody who spent like 1,000 hours messing around with these tools over the past 2 years is just going to be at a different level of language, experience, understanding of their own context, understanding of where they want to go, their like AI roadmap. It's just going to be very different from somebody coming in like your grandma, where she's like, what is this?
Yeah. And from that analytics side of when you're posting these videos, are there any tips or tricks? Like, what are you looking at after you've posted the videos? What type of analytics are you focusing on? And when you're making the thumbnails, all the titles, what are you focusing on, and how are you using that to extrapolate your growth?
Yeah. So thumbnails and titles are like a separate game on YouTube, which you really have to learn how to play. There is just like, I would say there's a few kind of assumptions that you have to get rid of if you're getting into it. Like, One of them is that the thumbnail doesn't always need to 100% accurately display the content of the video. And there's a difference between what I just said there and clickbait, because clickbait is just a straight up lie. Clickbait is if you have a video where you explain that 1 + 1 = 3 in the video, but your title kind of like sells that this is like the ultimate guide to mathematics. It's not the same thing, but you can, like, if the video content is 1 + 1 = 3, you can still make a title and thumbnail around that, which is maybe a bit exaggerates what's in the video, but still stays true to it. And I think that's the most important piece, because like if the content, let's stick with this example that I just invented, by the way. If it's 1 + 1 = 3 and you title it the most important, or like the ultimate guide to math, like that's clickbait and that's just a lie. But if you title it like the most important thing to get started in mathematics, then that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it is true, because like you're telling, like, if somebody has a desire to get started with mathematics, then this is like probably like the most important building block and a great place to start. And if you make a high quality video that gives them, that delivers on the title, although it might be a bit exaggerated, they're going to be walk away really happy and they're going to come back. And that's the key to it. If you set an expectation that you don't meet in the video, then they're not going to come back. And then yeah, YouTube hates that. So like you gotta learn how to exaggerate wisely and truthfully. I would say that's really the key to the packaging piece. And then there's the analytics piece, which is the second thing that you asked about.
And is this just a skill that you've learned, or do you use things like ChatGPT to help you generate these titles and things like that? Because sometimes even just for these videos, I'll upload the script to ChatGPT and then it will give like very clickbaity titles that weren't anything to do with the video. And I'll be like, no, this wasn't quite what I wanted. How are you using those tools to do that?
So it definitely helps and inspiration, but you gotta be the tastemaker, and you gotta be the person who draws the line. So it's definitely a skill you need to develop. I mean, it's a skill of copywriting. It's a skill of understanding humans. It's a skill of understanding your audience, really. Like you gotta know what they want, what they need. And those two things are not always the same thing. And you gotta know how to like write a title and design a thumbnail to speak to that. I mean, it cuts to like the deepest layer of the human psyche, to be honest. Like it's super deep, because a lot of times people just have these beliefs or these values that might be unfulfilled, or like that they feel, but they don't know how to transform into reality. And then if you can do a thumbnail or a title that speaks to that, it's going to resonate and people are going to click it. So, the ChatGPT one is a simple example, because it just became a worldwide phenomenon and people were like, oh, AI, ChatGPT, what is this about? So if you see a video that is like how to use ChatGPT in 2 minutes, it's like that resonates, because like that need and that desire is already there to like learn something about ChatGPT. And if you can do it in 2 minutes, and if you have the social proof of like 1 million views on that video, it's an easy click, because it's like, okay, like other people, this worked for other people. It's only 2 minutes. I have that, and I already have this desire. So that's like a simple formula. It gets a bit more tricky when you go into other niches that might not be so tutorial driven. It really depends on the niche, but like at the core, you got to identify like what the people need and how you can give that to them through your videos, and what idea would kind of like saturate their desires. And if you do that well, and if you do that consistently, there's no way around growing, and you can do it in every niche. But it's hard, because you need to understand people and you need to understand how to give them what they need and want. And that's hard. That's entrepreneurship.
And then on the analytics side, what are you focusing on, and how are you using that to change maybe new videos that are coming out or edit existing ones?
Yeah. So I think you got to have like a slightly different approach and mindset to different videos. So there's like videos where it's going to work. So if, I don't know, a good example recently would be like when GPT-5 comes out, then GPT-5 is going to always do well, right? Like with my AI-focused audience. That's like the number one topic everybody has been looking forward to for 2 years. So that's like a safe video to make. That's like a safe shot to take. But there's ones where you don't really know, but you got to do those too. Different people and different creators have a different philosophy to this, but I think a mix is important. You got to do like stuff where you know it's right, but don't get stuck in the trap to only do that, because that will also exhaust itself and it will also exhaust you. So at the end of the day, you got to do like videos where you experiment. And if you do experimental videos, like, they're going to be hit or miss. They're either going to be a 10 out of 10 or they're going to really work. But the chance of them really working is maybe like 5%, maybe 10, I don't know. And you got to have that expectation. Like if you do the experimental ones, like it's not like your audience is not prepared for that. Maybe YouTube is not prepared for that. Maybe you did everything right. You killed packaging. You did the best video ever, but YouTube just decided to not push it to the right audience, or it couldn't find the right audience, and it's just not going to work no matter what you do. and that happens. So it's really a mix of like videos that you know are going to work and videos that you're kind of like unsure about, but maybe you feel in your soul that you would like to make, and you kind of gotta make both. So ultimately, I would say it's kind of this philosophy of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing which ones stick, and then doing more of that. So as you said, I've had like 5. This is my 5th YouTube channel, and before I kind of fully committed to this one, I was running 2 YouTube channels next to my video production business, and they're like, we were experimenting, right? Like all that was why was I doing 2 YouTube channels? Because I was experimenting. I was like, okay, maybe I really care about video production. I love this stuff. Like, you know, I like the whole the lighting off, lighting back on. But like I just love this stuff intuitively. So like I figured maybe I can teach people, and I tried that, and that didn't work so well. That was just not the right time and place. And I tried different formats on that channel. And the AI thing was also just an experiment, right? But that one piece of spaghetti stuck, so I did more of that. But I always have to remind myself that you also have to keep like experimenting and like making yourself uncomfortable, because that's where like the growth hides. And yeah, if you want to kind of keep growing and keep doing more, then the worst thing you can do is just get stuck inside of the things that already work. Because no matter where you're at in life, like there's always more. And if you don't see that, then that's a you problem and not a opportunities problem. Like there's always more. And I just have this mindset of like, you can have it all. I really do believe that. I don't think you deserve, everybody is entitled to have it all, but I think you can. And I haven't discovered a better recipe to living than trying to get there. So
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And when you're coming up with these new video ideas, how are you keeping it fresh and keeping your content while staying true to your original like ideas for the channel, and then trying to engage new listeners as well?
Yeah, so you know, honestly, this is a bit of a personal struggle of mine because I'm like so deep into the AI space, and sometimes like just covering the newest story isn't exciting anymore. It's just, you know, like image generator number 238 that has like 5% better like text rendering. I got a report on it, but like you best believe I don't wake up and I'm like, wow, can't believe the 239 came out today. But like I can't portray that in the video, right? So it's a bit of a role that I need to play. It's a bit of a spin that I need to add for the people, for the viewers. Like I genuinely, some of the stories, like I wake up and they get me excited, they get me out of bed, but not every week is like that. And consistency is the name of the game here. So like I gotta kind of find this middle ground between like doing stuff that like fuels me and fuels my soul, and actually doing the stuff that the audience needs. And it's sometimes it's a compromise, and sometimes I can do exactly what I want. Like when the new thing comes out and a GPT-5 is out, like let's go. I don't like sleep is secondary on that day. I sleep very well generally. I think it's important, but like I'm like, yeah, if I need to stay up till like 3 to get that video out, like let's do it. Like that's amazing. And I'm like fueled up. I don't need a coffee and just on. So I think it's a mix, and you really like it always comes back to like what the audience like wants and needs, and what their desires are. And if you understand that, you're going to be able to kind of navigate your content, because if you understand what their desires are, you know, like a follow-up question there that would make sense is maybe like, okay, how do you know what their desires are? Kind of like on YouTube, you just look at what gets clicks. Like it can be that simple, you know, just look at your niche and look at the videos that do really well. It's like, that's what people want. And it doesn't matter what you think of that, you know, like I open like up TikTok sometimes, or like some competitor channels and stuff. And I'm like, I would never watch this, but it's like, it's not for me, and it doesn't matter. I'm not there to like judge if I would want to watch this. I just like taking the information at face value. Like, okay, people watch this. Why do they? What does this give them? You know, there's a lot of these like AI drama channels that I would never do. But like I'm looking at that, and they're like, you know, discussing all the latest, like this CEO got ousted, and oh my God, the end of the world, ChatGPT 6 is gonna be like, you know, the end of humanity or something. And it's like, I wouldn't watch that. I wouldn't want to create that. But like I look at that and I ask myself like neutrally, what do those people want that click that? And like then I realize like, okay, they have a lot of fears, right? They have a lot of fears around this technology, and those are genuine. And there's probably like, people are not stupid. They have they have reasons for their feelings. And then I just look at that and I just kind of like accept, okay, like people have a lot of fear around this. And I might not create the video, but like maybe in the next video, I kind of address that fear. And I kind of like talk about it. And I'm like, hey, like, you know, a lot of people are scared around it. I get it, but and then I go into like, you know, a whole discussion around that. But it's sort of just Like that's the way I use data. Like I don't really go deep into analytics to answer your previous questions to like find like some like discrepancies and stuff. Kind of like the most powerful thing that you can do is kind of like look at the niche you want to operate in, find the most popular channels, what videos have done well for them recently. If you want something tactical, you can get this like free vidIQ extension, and it shows you like how much better the video performed than the previous than the average on the channel. And it shows you like this video performed like 64 times better than the average video on their channel. This video did like 2.5 times the views. And then you can kind of just look at their channels and see what performs better and what that says about the underlying human needs.
And what's that
if you
tool
understand that, it's called vidIQ. vidIQ. I think
vidIQ.
free extension. I'm on the free plan. You can just, it's really great. And that allows you to understand the humans and then formulate your strategy. And then you got to find this balance to like ultimately answer the question is like finding the balance between what the people need and what you want to make. And a lot of the times, I think when I was young, I was all the way here and I was like, hey, I'm going to like show the world what I want to make and I'm going to like make my visions come true. And like, it was like a place that came purely from me. And then over time, I learned that, well, that's great. And you gotta be very aware of that might not be what the world needs, right? And if you want to build a business, if you want to do stuff, then you maybe gotta do what the world needs. And maybe ideally you can find kind of a mix of the both. But usually it's not just gonna be like, you know, I don't know, I at least had this dream of like, if I can make my visions come true and like make my dream project, then they will come. It doesn't work like that. You need to start with the other people. That was at least my lesson. You need to start with what they need and then see what you can provide and if you can kind of like fuse those two. So that's my approach to content.
And once you have that idea and you feel like you have that identity and say you have a video idea, then what's your process? And are you storyboarding? Are you writing a script? What exactly are you doing after that?
Okay, so I can tell, so I just have to contextualize that this is for the tech educational niche, right? So if you're in a different niche, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of, I think hundreds of big niches and tens of thousands of sub niches of that on YouTube and in content. But I concretely am making educational videos, a lot of how-to videos. I do news roundups, and that's what we do on YouTube, yeah? So I'll lay out my process to you, but so it's very specific to this, because like if you do Mr. Beast type stuff, like this is not gonna be the process, right? And you gotta listen to somebody there. But like for me, what we do is, for example, we have the standardized format on Friday. News you can use, all of the week's AI use cases and releases filtered for the ones that matter and the ones that you can use right now. Okay, so that's the video we make every Friday. And the way we approach it is I built a whole team around it. So it's not a solo operation anymore because it's wild. Kaya, honestly, like AI is insane sometimes. Like the second half of August, like nothing happened. But the second week of August, we got more releases than the 3 or 4 months together. Like every big company, it was insanity. And then it's my responsibility to cover that. And it doesn't matter that I have like plans. Like you know, the Google doesn't care about my plans. I gotta be there for my audience. So you have to like rearrange stuff. And to do that and to stay consistent, I for myself had to build a team over time because I need that and the channel needs that. And that's also for the benefit of the audience. And here's my process. So for the Friday video, we know we upload on Fridays. So I have 2 researchers on the team which go ahead and round up all the releases. We have different ways of doing this, RSS feeds, just searching Twitter, looking at newsletters, going through various social media channels, looking at different blog posts, and we kind of like round it all up into one table. We use Notion, but that really doesn't matter. It's just we put it into a Notion database. Then we have a little questionnaire that the researchers like fill out, like how could Igor present this in a video? Is it accessible today? What are kind of the cliff notes? What's a summary of this release? And by now they know my taste, so they know like which ones to filter out. Then on Wednesday, we have a research meeting where we sit together for an hour and we discuss every single story. And there, like, we also bring one of the video editors in that does the graphic design for the thumbnails. And it's me and the researchers, and they kind of like present the stories back to me and we discuss each and every one of them. And then we decide like, okay, are we going to feature this story? And if yes, how are we going to present it? Is this going to be a live review? Am I going to test it live? Am I going to play with the app live? Is there some testing that has been already done, or we need to assign the testing to somebody? Or is this just something we call a quick hit where we just cover it in 20 seconds and move on? Cool. So then let's say we have like 10 stories and each one of them is marked or like Last week it was like 15 stories. Then I move on to recording, and I do the recording in 2 parts. Now I'm changing that process a little bit because I hired a videographer to come into like my apartment and studio right here in central Lisbon, where he helps me record it. But usually the past 3 years the process was I record 1 part on Wednesday, the easy stories, the stuff that is ready to go and where like we have all the research and the testing, so we can start editing on Thursday. So editor number 1 starts working on it on Thursday. And also important, in the research meeting we discuss the thumbnail, and it's usually the first thing we discuss. So even before we go through into all the stories, like we start with like which one of these is the lead story and what is the title going to look like. So we start working on thumbnail on Wednesday, then we start editing on Thursday, the first part of the video. And then I have time on Thursday to do research and do work on some of the further stories. Also, I have the team support in that. And then Thursday night, I record the second part of the video, which is the stories that took a bit more work or a bit more preparation. And then the 2 editors finish up the video on Friday together. They usually like split it up and then they merge it together. And then we have a full video and a thumbnail on Friday, and we upload that. And then it's the weekend. I get to record a podcast with you. And then next week we do it all over again.
And that's quite a counterintuitive way of starting with the thumbnail, starting with the title. Is that so that it doesn't become clickbait, and that's so that you have more of a direction in the video?
It's because it's the most important part. Like when you think about YouTube and YouTube consumption and your own YouTube consumption, then like it's an important thing to realize that every video you've ever watched is because the thumbnail and title resonated with you. Like you haven't seen a single video where you did not actively make the decision of clicking on the thumbnail and title, right? So it doesn't matter. It might be the most life-changing video in the world. If I titled that video like "New AI Release That I Enjoy," right? It might be the most incredible thing, but like you're not gonna click that. But if I title the same video like ChatGPT just released something that will change school assignments that will make school easy, like school obsolete from here on out, there's a higher chance of you clicking that.
Yeah, I want to watch that one.
Right? Like, because it like speaks to you. So like that really matters. And the video is going to be the same video, right? Like the content is the same. It's just the packaging really matters. So you got to start there. Like it doesn't matter like what kind of video you make. At the end of the day, if you don't have a banger thumbnail and title, as one would say, it's like, all the effort can go into nothing. And I've just been there too many times. So we start with that. And then we talk about that for like 20, 30 minutes sometimes, 3, 4 of us. Or like everybody's engaged in that. Like, what can we do? So I think it's got to start there. It might be counterintuitive, but like if you realize that YouTube works that way and you've never watched a video where you didn't make the decision that this title thumbnail speaks to me, if you really, really realize what that means for doing YouTube videos, then starting there only makes sense.
That makes sense. And also, you're talking about your community earlier, because from the looks of it, AI Advantage, there's 3 different parts. You got the newsletter, the YouTube channel, and then the paid community. I'm curious, was that your strategy from the start to have those 3 things, or how did that develop?
Yeah, so it morphed over time. I mean, it started with the YouTube channel, then I immediately moved into, I created a quick prompting ebook right off the bat, and I created the newsletter next to that, because I don't know, just been in the game long enough to know how the creator economy works and everything. You want to own the relationships rather than just renting them. With a email list, you really own it, right? Because like, doesn't matter if my provider cancels me. I have my list and I can just import it into a new tool, and those are my contacts. Those are my people. Whereas YouTube, like, you don't know. Like, I had a channel back in the day, like 2022. It just got banned.
Oh, really?
And it was gone for a month. Yeah. So like, if you're not, the thing is, if you're not partnered yet, they don't even give you an explanation and they don't even answer. You know, I wrote like 6 emails to YouTube and nothing. And then after like 3 or 4 weeks, they just turned it back on as if nothing happened. But like the channel just disappeared. Like I didn't even know why. They gave me no reasoning. They gave me no answer to my emails. It was just gone.
That sucks.
It was just, I woke up one day and it was like, there was like a red banner, like this channel is like suspended. And I got no explanation. It was just gone.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's horrible where you're like putting all your like hopes and dreams into that channel. You're hustling there for like over a year, uploading every single week, no matter if like you're going through, I don't know, a breakup or a sickness or whatever, you're still uploading, and then all of a sudden YouTube's just like, nope. And then like, not anymore. Well, you don't think so. So yeah, it started like that. And then I did the newsletter, and then we just started like listening to what the people needed. And the main thing they needed in the beginning was like a base education that goes more in depth than like a 20-minute video or like a 30-minute video. So I developed a course on everything I knew about ChatGPT. It's like a basics course. And I really I put actually too much effort into that, thinking back. Like I put like 2 months of my life into that. People really loved it. It like over delivered, and it built trust. And then what I started offering, like the roadmap was like this. Like I took the most interested and invested people in the course, and then I started offering like a bi-weekly session to them every second week. 1 hour with me, just going deep onto one prompting technique or one ChatGPT technique or something like surrounding, like something that kind of like extended the course. And yeah, people really liked that, and they just kept tuning in, and more people kept coming to that. And as soon as I was doing that for like 4 or 5 months, and then I just took that cohort of people and said, okay, we're gonna keep doing this format, but there's also going to be more events. There's going to be more courses. We just like took that core value and expanded it and said, but from here on out, it's not going to be free anymore. Like we did it as a kind of a free extension of the course. Now that you're going to get more courses and more how-to guides and more events and more everything, more challenge. We had weekly challenges and stuff like that. We just created this package. It's going to be a monthly subscription. And then a lot of those people came over because they were like consuming the regular content for half a year already. And that allowed us to like kickstart the membership with super high engagement right away, because there was like a group of regulars that like were there just every second week, knew each other by name, everything. So we started that community along with my team. And yeah, we've just been building that since then, doing regular events, posting regular guides, creating regular courses. We just released an automation course. Now we're doing a vibe coding course that's going to release in a month. And we just keep doing that. And a core group of people developed there who kind of like, some of them started businesses together. Some of them just hang out. Some of them like bring all the insights from professionals from around the world to their university in the UK that they teach at. And it's just,
That's awesome.
It's super varied, and it's super amazing. And it's just this like group of like early adopters and innovators that like collaborate, and it sort of took on a life of its own. But that was really the roadmap. It was from like YouTube into ebook and newsletter into course and regular events into community.
And how are you building that community now? Like, what's your time split between the channel, the newsletter, keeping the community updated, doing all the new courses?
So my whole philosophy is like, I'm primarily like an entrepreneur and CEO and visionary for the whole thing, and YouTuber also. I say that lastly, but really that is like a big part of it. And all the community operations, I did everything in my power to build a team that can operate the community and provide new value there and keep that alive and well. And my vision for it is like, I really want to be an active user and a consumer of the community, because like I just built something I wish I had in the beginning, but not an operator of the community. So like I built a team that operates that creates the guides, creates the flows. Like I assist with the courses, I give the direction, I pick the topics that we focus in on based on my knowledge and my conversations and my expertise and contacts in the space. But really, I focus on the YouTube and on all the growth opportunities and on things like now I'm about to publish a book, and I do more public speaking, and we do more and more B2B training and education, and all of these things. Like there, I'm acutely like needed to like spearhead all of that, to spearhead all of the new opportunities and all the growth. And the community, is built to be self-sustainable. And because it's a community, we have so many great members that they just hold an event on like how to think about the EU AI Act, for example, recently.
That's awesome.
Or we had another event on how to build the AI consulting business from AI consultant in the US that just did it from scratch. So she shares it in an hour, and we have like community members stepping up and also delivering some of the value in the content, which is wonderful, because that's what a community should be. It shouldn't be a dictatorship or like a cult or something. It should be like a group of people from different walks of life who like collaborate and grow together. So that's what that is. And then I focus on growing the YouTube and growing the business.
And how did you cultivate that energy in that community? Do you think that was natural just because that's the way early adopters kind of are? Or was it more intentional of you trying to shape people into taking their own initiatives and starting these events within the community?
Well, I like to, maybe there's more to it, but I really like to think that I do my very best to always be as authentic as possible. But also like there's a mix. Like one lesson that I had to recently learn is there's a mix between like being authentic and like also being, well, it's either relatable or like being there for the other person is another way to think of it, right? Because like if you're like fully in your authentic self, like oftentimes you're just gonna be an asshole, right? Like because you're just like, yeah, like let's say you're sad and you're crying or something. I'm like, why are you crying? Like I feel great. Like what the hell, right? Like, but and
Yeah.
that's not like you're being authentic. Okay, great, but like F off, right?
Yeah.
So like there's kind of like a mix of the two. And I like to think because like I always kind of like stuck to like I know who I am and I know what I like and I always kind of like stuck to that. But I always like listen to people and I just genuinely love people and I love being surrounded by people. And I also like my childhood kind of taught me the skill of like learning to understand other people and what they feel and what that means and stuff. And I think because I've always found this like balance between the two, I think I attracted a lot of people who think about the space in a similar way that I do. A lot of curious people, a lot of entrepreneurial people, a lot of open-minded people. And those people, well, they just can't help it. Like if a new thing comes out, they're not going to be sitting there and ignoring it. They're going to be like, wow, this is great, right? They're going to be looking at it. They're going to be experimenting with it. And if you provide an environment for those people to share those findings, to share those passions, to follow their own goals, but give them peers along the way, then they're just naturally going to do what they do best, which is like experiment and share that. And this community just supports that. So the way I think about it is just, it's a mix of like being yourself and like understanding people and giving them what they need. And then you're going to attract like-minded warriors, so to say, or like-minded individuals. And yeah, if you create an environment for them where they can feel safe. Also, like one thing that I'm super proud of, like in like 1.5 years of operating the community in this form, like we had a Discord community before, but this is really the current form. Like we didn't have to kick a single person or ban a single person, like not a single time. Everybody's so respectful and everybody's just so, and people are, and what I love so much too is like people are not afraid to share like, hey guys, like, I don't know, like I just started and like, I'm not really sure, like, how do you like copy a screenshot and put it in there? And then like 3-4 people show up to help them. It's like, hey, yeah, of course I've been there. Like, yeah. And it's like, there's, it's like nobody's ashamed of being a beginner because we're all beginners at something. It's just, yeah, if I put in 1,000 hours into like a certain activity, like, of course I'm going to be further along that journey, but I'm a beginner at everything else. And kind of like keeping that in mind and keeping that spirit alive makes people feel safe. And if they feel safe, they can be who they are. And if you attract people who are set up in a similar manner, then they're just going to collaborate. And I think that's how it went down.
And I'm curious as well, because earlier you described yourself as an entrepreneur and as a CEO before being a YouTuber. Where did this entrepreneurial drive come from? Are there any stories from your childhood maybe that you realized that you were interested in entrepreneurship and business?
Yeah, so I think that drive is like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to believe, I want to believe that you can kind of teach it. And so, but at the end of the day, I don't think you can teach it. I think you can support it. I think it's, you either have it or you don't. Like, it's like this drive to like always grow and always build and always create. Like, I think it's like it's binary. Like you either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, all the support in the world is not going to change that because people are just different. But like, I was definitely on the I had it side. I mean, a few stories come to mind. So like a very first one that I hinted at in our earlier conversation was like when we moved a ton. Okay. So like my childhood it was really complicated, but also like really incredible at some points. It was both, but we moved a lot. Like I haven't lived in a single place for more than 4 years until the age of 25. We always moved. And like some of the biggest moves, like one of the biggest moves was the move from Slovakia to Austria when I was 8 years old. And the thing is like nobody in Austria speaks Slovak. Let me tell you that. And we didn't even move to a city. We moved into like the countryside. So I moved from like the capital of Slovakia to like the Austrian countryside. We moved into the village that Arnold Schwarzenegger lived in, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the documentary, but like he says in the documentary that there's like nothing there. And he has a point. It's like beautiful nature, but it's like there's a golf course and there's wonderful people, but it's like, that's it. Like there's not much there. So finding myself in that environment, just not speaking the language, not knowing anything, kind of like get back to like the core of who you are, because that's really all that's left. You have that and maybe like support of my mom there, and that's it. So what I found myself doing very early is just like I ventured off into the woods and I saw all of these chestnuts that they like, I don't know, I just love chestnuts and they were great, and I just started collecting them. And then I had like too many chestnuts for myself, so I like started like I had this idea. I like packaged them into like these nets that you put under carpets, if you know what I mean. Like these nets, I cut them up and like, cause that's all we had, right? Like I just like tied them up with a string, and then I went to the main street and put them on a table. And at first I didn't even have a sign. Like after that I made a sign, but like I just put chestnuts there, and then like cars stopped by and they were like, "Oh, chestnuts, what you got?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I don't know, €2 for chestnuts or something." And they're like, "Oh, that's a great deal." And then I realized in the shop they cost like, I don't know, €8 or €10. So then I raised my prices a little bit. But I was like hustling chestnuts as an 8-year-old.
Wow.
Then
That's
like
insane.
then the farmer kind of found out that I was doing that, and he gave me, well, he came to talk to my parents because I was effectively stealing his chestnuts, right? I was just going onto his grounds and taking his chestnuts. So that didn't work out. But then like there's many war stories like that, honestly. Like there was like probably my personal favorite one is when I was 12. Oh God.
I
I
want to
went
hear
to
it
this
now.
I went to this English school, yeah, in Graz. British International School. No. That was the one in Bratislava. GIBS, Graz International Bilingual School. That was it. And I was 12, and there was a school buffet, yeah? So they had like, they sold chocolates and like different pastries and just like, I don't know, a lot of sweets. And then one day I was like in the supermarket. It was like Billa, supermarket in Austria. And I saw the same sweets that they were selling there, right? So it was like this Milka chocolate and the Milka white chocolate. And in the buffet, like, they're like expensive, right? They were like not airport prices, but like they were marked up, right? Because like they had a monopoly in the school. I was just like, I knew nothing about money, honestly. I learned about money like in my 20s, like to be like early 20s. Like it took me a long while to kind of understand society a bit more widely. But the point is, like, I was just like, oh, this is chocolate, this is great. And they were on sale. So, like, I just, like, took some pocket money I had. I don't know, I had a few euros, and I bought, like, a bunch of chocolate and sweets. And then I went into my classroom and set up a table in the back, just intuitively. And,
Started
like,
hustling chocolate.
I was hustling new products. And then I told my classmates, like, hey, like, you know the chocolate that you buy over there for, like, €3? How about you buy it here for 150, half the price? They're like, that's great. So they started like buying the chocolate and stuff. Then I expanded my inventory. Then I started like buying more stuff, and I had like a whole table full of stuff all of a sudden, and I was selling it. I had a little like casa cashiers thing that I could like lock up. Now, yet again, I didn't realize that that was a problem because that buffet was paying for like an exclusive fee. So they paid for the monopoly they have in the school. And then like a week in, actually, the way it happened is like one of my classmates was like, this is a great deal. Like, we got to do this. And I sent him out. He was really enthusiastic, and I sent him out to market it. So I told him, like, for everyone you bring in, you get one of these like little bars. And then he was bringing in different people from around the school. And eventually he was going into the line of people who were lining up for the chocolate at the buffet, right? So he was like, hey, do you want like this same thing but cheaper? Come with me. The problem is that this 12-year-old kid this was my head of marketing. He sold it to one of our teachers too. He was like, hey, do you want to buy cheaper chocolate over there? And then like the teacher came up, saw that. She reported it to the headmistress. And like within an hour, I had to come into the headmistress office, and that was the end of my business.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but it made a bit of a profit, and I was left with a ton of sweets. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, I had like, oh my God, that was the 12-year-old's dream. But yeah, just stories like that. And like, you always was up to something, you know? And as you grow up, you kind of get a bit more sophisticated than just like buying chocolate on sale and reselling it. But whatever works.
Yeah. And nowadays, how do you think that people have that same entrepreneurial drive, can leverage AI in their businesses? Say they're starting from scratch with no capital. They just want to, maybe it's a side hustle, maybe it's their main business. What's the best way to do that, and what tools would they be using?
Okay, so number one thing, you do not start with AI.
No.
It's an auxiliary skill. It's an add-on. Okay?
Okay.
This is really important to understand. Like, people come in and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to become an AI expert, and that's my thing. Like, the thing you got to understand, like, AI is an amplifier of what you already do. If you suck at content, you're going to suck at content, but be using AI in the process. Like, it might even make it worse. If you're a terrible marketer, then you're going to be a terrible marketer who's trying to automate like the processes that they don't understand. Like, it's a add-on skill, okay? So you got to find something where you're good already. And there's not all of that has to be like hard skills. Like, it can be communication. It can be writing. It can be things like marketing or sales. It can be things like understanding how to do customer support, or it can be industry like car washes or whatever. Like, just pick a thing that you understand, that you have an affinity for. And again, like, don't just go from this place of, hey, this is what I care about and this is what I'm going to do. Like, that's well and
Yeah.
good, but just trust me if I tell you that like it's way more fulfilling and it's way more not just realistic, but also like it's just a better path overall, where you kind of like you become aware of what you want, cool, but don't think the world owes you anything and that you have a right to do that. Look for what people already want and start there, and then try to reconcile it with what you do. And between those, so like I don't know, like my little brother, for example, is interested in cars, and like first, like he had this idea of just like, oh my god, like I can get into the car business somehow because I care about cars. But then what I taught him is like, okay, but look at what demands already exist in the world. Like, do people need their cars washed? Do they need their cars repaired? Do they need consulting on what car to buy? Do they need help with like sourcing the parts? Like, what are the problems relating to cars that are there in the world? Like, cool, you can take this as a starting point, but don't get stuck on this. When I was young, I really wanted to, I wanted to do the cool thing. I was into photography and videography, and I still am, and that's great. But like, just by taking pictures of stuff I enjoyed, that's not a good route in the world. It's a way better route to look what the world needs. And in my case, that was like, okay, I'm into videography, and like I was also like young and going out a lot back then. And I saw all of this like nightlife videography kind of thing happening. So then I was like, okay, I could see myself kind of like maybe taking this video skills, and I wasn't the nightlife video or photographer, right? But I was like, okay, I'm needed here and I could do that. So then I did cold outreach to all of these businesses in Vienna who were running events. And I think I sent like 120 messages. One of them was like, F off. Literally, I was like, okay. The second one was like, no, thank you. And the third one was, I'm not going to pay 100 euros for that. Like, you can come and do it for free if you want. And I took that job, and that one job spawned another 300 jobs over the course of the next 5 years.
Wow.
It's just like, it's branched out into a second job, and the second job got me 3 jobs. And those 3 jobs just branched out. But it was like, that. Yes, I was interested in videography. But like, if you ask me, like what I would want to do is like, I wanted to like fly drones and take pictures of landscapes and maybe portraits. Like, I really enjoyed that. Like, event videography wouldn't be on my mind, but I saw that need and I kind of reconciled the two. And let me tell you, that path all the way from event videography to teaching millions of people how to use technologies and like literally changing people's careers because of some unlocks we find for them, and literally like inspiring people that they can do the same thing, and teaching them new skills, and just meeting all these wonderful souls and traveling around the world and meeting teams of business people, meeting individuals ranging all the way to 17-year-old ambitious girls in my area like you, all the way to like businessmen who are like 75 years old and have seen it all and have made all the money in the world. And having those conversations on a regular is way more fulfilling than taking portraits of pictures. Although that might have been my core interest in the beginning, right? But it's just like, you got to realize that, especially when you're young, like you think you know what you want, but most likely you're just projecting a story that you've seen somewhere that feels cool. And if you go down the path of like what the world needs, there, like the world and like the universe has a way of kind of giving you what you need rather than what you want. And what I found is that the stuff that you need is way more fulfilling than the stuff that you want. And that would be my advice. So realize where you're at and what you care about. It's essential. But then also like put your ego to the side for a second and your definition of what you think you are and need. And just either follow the money or follow the opportunities and the other people's needs. And that's going to lead you to places, as long, stay true to yourself in the process, but that's going to lead you to places that are way superior than if I was like just stuck in my image of I don't know, I want to shoot nice drone landscape videos and take portraits of people. That would be a lame life compared to what I do now. And I can pursue that as a hobby now, right? And I do. And I still do some of the things that I loved back in the day. I still play games. I still like go like kite surfing, and I have an electric longboard that I ride around Lisbon, although it's really challenging. But I didn't make those things my career, and I love my career, and I would have never expected to be in this position even 5 years ago. But
how do you keep?
You kind of just keep going.
How do you keep yourself open to change? And especially, like, how do you know when it's time to pivot or when you should keep going and keep trying at one thing?
Yeah, that's hard because like that what you ask right there, it goes against the traditional advice of just stay consistent and things will work out, right? I think like in our life, it's always a balance. So like, yes, consistency is the key. But if you're just consistently stupid and the market is telling you that it's not working, then you got to listen too. right?
Yeah.
Like this is one rule in like on streaming platforms, on Twitch and stuff, where they like stream games and in real life streams and stuff. This is one term which they say like, don't get one guide, which means like if one guy in chat brings up something and is like, you suck, it's like, okay, that's one guy. But if there's like an army of people that are like, hey, like this is terrible, please stop. Like they might be wrong and maybe, but like you got to realize that they might have a point, you know? Like maybe like if it's something, if it's like, you're ugly, like it's like, okay, like that doesn't mean like that you need to take it personally, but like if one person says that, it's like, okay, they're having a bad day. But like if an army of people says that, then first of all, that hurts, sure. But secondly, there's also information there. And this one is a bit extreme, right? Because it's like, it's so personal, that example. Maybe it's not the best example, but like there's information there and you got to read the information. So if you're doing a YouTube channel and you've been uploading for 1.5 years and you've been consistent as hell and you've been putting in the work and you've been really trying, maybe like you're not world class, because how could you be? Like you're just gonna, you just gotta put your best foot forward, but you also gotta listen and keep your eyes open. So if you're doing that forever and the videos are still only getting like 10 views or 20 views a video, and you don't really see growth, or it's like so minimal that it doesn't matter at all, and you get like these comments sometimes that like point out that, hey, maybe I would like to hear about robotics and not about like, I don't know, video production or something, then take that information for what it is. Like, okay, people don't care enough. Why don't they care enough? Like, I've been consistent. I've been showing up. I've been doing the work. But why don't they care? Like, they're not stupid. Like, don't tell yourself, people are stupid. People don't know what they want. Like, it's not true. People are smarter than you give them credit for. Especially younger people. Like, they might not have all the experience in the world to kind of, but then they have a better intuition than most grown-ups. And like, they know what they want. The stuff that you see pop on TikTok it's not random. It's because it resonates at a deep level with all the people watching it and sending it to their friends. And there's some information there. So you got to ask yourself, okay, what's the information and why, and what do I do with this information is then the follow-up question. Because like if the decision is I ignore that information, that's perfectly fine. If like a group of people on the street walks up to you and is like, you're ugly. It's like, okay, like, I don't know. Okay, ignore, right? Like, and that stuff becomes easier as you get older because you're like, I don't know, like, yeah, it's very hard to throw me off these days. But like when I was, I don't know, 18, like it was quite easy to throw me off. Like one little comment, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, you might be right, whatever the hell. Like, nah, just like, okay, dude. Like, it's just like that. But like at the end of the day, there's information and then you got to make a decision what to do with the information. But most people, they kind of just get, like a lot of people just get stuck and then they don't, and they also become like blind to the feedback. And if your stuff is not getting traction over extended period of time, that's information. And then you got to do something with that. If you have a good reason for ignoring that, and if you're like, no, I believe this can work, and like, it's just like, I'm waiting for this milestone, then good. But like, put a timeline on that. Even if you're like, let's say you're doing YouTube for a year, or like year is kind of like the entry ticket, to be honest. Like that's where you're barely getting started. Let's say you're doing it for a year and none of the videos got traction. Every upload gets like 10 views and you want to keep going, but then like make a plan, right? Like tell yourself like, okay, like I'm going to keep going with the formula I have because I believe X, Y, Z. You gotta have some like reasons why you're doing it, and then set a deadline on it. I'm gonna keep going for another 6 months, and if nothing changes, then I'm gonna think about pivoting, or like I'm gonna seriously consider it. So don't get stuck on the I just need to be consistent for the next 5 years, and it's gonna be fine. Like no, there's such a like if you're doing it for 2 weeks, fair, but if you're doing it for a year and a half consistently, like take the info that you gathered. It gives you information, right? Think about, like to my early analogy, think about what kind of spaghetti you threw at the wall in the process. And if you threw enough different types of spaghetti, and think about which one stuck. Or maybe you got some feedback in the comments, because like that's the beautiful thing about socials. You kind of get direct feedback a lot of times. Like they tell you like, okay, like this is good, but I wish XYZ. And then like think about if that angle maybe makes more sense. And if you don't get that feedback, then look at other people in your niche who do get that feedback, who have the traction, who have the comments, and then look into those comments for inspiration on how to pivot. But yeah, don't get too stuck in your tracks and always keep your eyes open. That is like just good advice generally in life. Always keep your eyes open. And if you think you have a plan, then that's good, but every plan can change. And for every plan you have, you could just give me a little bit of time to think, and like I could come up with 10 scenarios that will make that plan completely irrelevant. COVID is a good example. There's many more, but like every plan is just like you can only plan from the point of view you have now, and things change and you gain new information. And when you get that, reincorporate it.
And just to wrap this up, the scene is yours. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't get into today?
Nothing that's top of mind. I mean, do you think like entrepreneurially or personally
Just in
or
general, maybe.
tech-wise or?
Anything in general that you felt like you wanted to share entrepreneurially or AI-wise as well?
Yeah, I think at the essence of it all is like in this world that is so noisy, you gotta experience yourself.
Mm.
And that can mean many things. One good way to do that is say yes to more things. And especially say yes to more things where your knee-jerk reaction is a no, right? So I don't know, like maybe somebody like at school like asks you to like hang out and you like don't really like her at all, right? And your reaction is like, ugh, no. Like that's probably the type of thing where you should say like, okay, like I don't know, okay, let's get ice cream once or something. Like that's gonna, because that's like where all the growth is hidden. The stuff that feels most uncomfortable, especially when it's like an intuitive no.
Yeah.
That's where all the growth is hidden. And the same goes for things you're afraid of. Like if you're fearful of something, that's information right there. And then you should ask yourself, like, what am I afraid of? Like, what change would this produce that would mess with my current world? If it's like, if you're afraid of like jumping off a cliff because you could hurt yourself, then it's like, then okay, maybe then don't do it, right? Be like, okay, like I'm afraid of it because it could hurt me physically, and that's bad. But if you're like afraid of it because it would challenge your current belief system and your current like social relationships, like to heck with that. Like you're more resilient than you think. You can say to a lot of things. You can say yes to a lot of things that will make you uncomfortable and you'll be fine. So yeah, that would be my advice. Like seek, like if you want change, then seek the stuff that you would say no to.
I like that. That's really cool. Well, thank you so much. That's a wrap.